because the TEDx stage really is about your story. That's what people need to realize. It is a big idea and it's an idea worth sharing, but that idea is embedded in your experiences, in your, wisdom, in your story. I was actually telling somebody today, the TEDx experience I had on my vision board. You know how the first of the year you write on your vision board what you want to do? I want to say 3 years ago or so, I put it on my vision board and I put it on Facebook, and I don't remember exactly that date. I can't wait until that pops up. But I remember just kind of thinking, I want to be a TEDx speaker. But for a lot of us, and this was true for me, that seemed so big, so out of the scheme of what I would be able to do, even though I'd had, whatever accomplishments prior to. When you hear TEDx, you think only this caliber of person is there, not realizing that you are that caliber of person, right? And so I put it on Facebook, I put it on my vision board, and I had several people reach out to me and say, you need to do a TEDx. You need to do a TEDx. One person actually sent me an application for an event in Atlanta. She was like, you need to do this, but it had already passed. That was just enough, though, for me to say, you know what? It's in me. Other people see it in me as well. Why not take the chance, right? And I'll say this, and maybe we'll talk about it more. We can talk about it as much as you want. But I actually applied for my first TEDx and was turned down. I was rejected. But within a month, I talked to a friend who had done a TEDx. And I was like, hey, I'm really interested in doing this. Can you give me some tips? She said, you know what? I know someone who's curating a TEDx in the Atlanta area. I don't know if they need more people, but you would be a perfect fit. She gave me the theme. She gave me a couple of tips. And then it really kind of went from there. And God opened up the door for me to do my first TEDx actually in 2023. And we could talk again because it was a process. It was a journey to get there. And then I had this other idea, this second idea as it relates to everyday equity. And I applied and did my second TEDx just a year later. That doesn't always happen, but I do believe because there was a belief in myself, because other people saw it as well. And I just stepped out and took the risk, and the opportunities open. So I'll stop. If you've got other specific questions, let me know.
Dr. Matisa said, I'll stop because I can keep going. I can keep going. You can let it breathe a little bit if you like, but if you feel like going, you can go. But I do have a couple of questions. I'm going to come up for air on this and go back a little bit. So one thing that I wrote down here is the belief that your friends and your community had in you and your light. So maybe, like you said, some of us are like, hey, like, it'll be nice to be on that red dot, on that red circle, but that's for bigger names. That's for Simon Sinek and Brene Brown. Who am I? I'm just Robin, or I'm just Matisa, right? Talk to me about how important it is, not just for us to be able to accept the motivation from our inner circle, but also for us as members of other people's inner circle to pour into them.
Oh, it's so important. So let me just start back even with my first TEDx. And I'm getting excited even reliving these things because I think it is such an important journey. And I just love what you're doing because so many people have said, I'd like to do a TEDx. I wish I could, almost as if, again, they're putting you in a certain category. And what I tell people is you absolutely can do it. If I go back to my first TEDx was called Good Grief. And I'd actually just lost my brother some months before that. And interestingly enough, I had several people independent of one another because I would share my journey on Facebook. So I lost my mom in 2017. I lost my brother in 2022. And I would just share my journey. This is what I'm dealing with. I would go live. So I was in essence doing small versions of TED Talks on my, for my Facebook community. Fast forward, and just to kind of cut through the field, several people independent of one another said, God is going to, and I'm a person of faith, so I'm going to speak about God. So that's just me.
Amen.
Um, okay, I want to make, it's me. But they said, God is going to use your experience with grief for a bigger purpose, independent of each other, right? Because the TEDx stage really is about your story. That's what people need to realize. It is a big idea and it's an idea worth sharing, but that idea is embedded in your experiences, in your, wisdom, in your story. And so when they said to me, you're going to, do something bigger, I never imagined that it would be a TED Talk. So if I go back to my friend who said there was this person curating a TED Talk, this could be great for you. I want to say the theme of that TED Talk was back to the basics, or the theme of the TEDx event, back to the basics. So I'm dealing with grief, Robin, and I'm thinking to myself, how do I get through this? And for me to get through it is to talk about it, not necessarily to have a conversation. I don't always want to be in conversation, but I'm in conversation with myself, with my ideas, with my feelings. And that became the seed for my TED Talk.
Mm.
And I remember when the curator, who's also a friend and my coach, Daryl Stinson, saw the write up, he was like, oh, yeah, this is about to be a thing. So it was so important for somebody to say, your pain, the things that you're going through, is bigger than you. And
Mm.
that was helpful for me. I needed to know that.